G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And a couple of months ago I reviewed my first Toyota Supra, and it was a classic case of right transmission and, well, in some ways wrong engine. Although it was not the twin turbocharged version like what this one is, I found it to actually be a surprisingly good car. The NA2JZ was smooth and revved right out to 7,000 RPM, making an acceptable amount of power for an early 90s 3-litre engine. And while definitely not a backroad barnstormer with its couchy suspension, slow steering and large heavy GT body, it was not a bad drive. My issue with that car is that at heart it's a not particularly fast nor special to drive 30-year-old Toyota that somehow is worth more than a BMW M2. However, today we are slowly working our way up the Supra ranks. We started with a manual NA. This one is a classic case of right engine and wrong transmission. This is a twin turbocharged automatic Supra RZ. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the infamous Toyota 2JZ GTE. Unlike the GE that I reviewed last time, while it shares the same closed deck iron block and forged crankshaft and connecting rods, the GTE variant has lower compression pistons, a redesigned aluminium 24 valve head with different camshafts and valves, variable valve timing that at least the early GE variants did not get, and of course, 2 sequential turbochargers. These modifications bump the power right up to 234 kilowatt and 451 newton meters, identical numbers to mild M135i or an FL5 Civic Type R as an example. Not bad for 1993. This one, however, as you can see, and with pretty much every single 2JZ, has had a few modifications done to it a very long time ago. This car really is a timepiece of like 2000s JDM modification culture. It's got a much larger intercooler here at the front, along with all new turbocharger piping and an intake here at the front. It's got a blow-off valve, it's got upgrades to the oil filter and oil and transmission cooler systems there in the bumper, and is now pushing somewhere around 330 kilowatt, which is about 100 more than factory, and 550 newton meters of torque. So while this certainly isn't the 1000 horsepower Supra that people might have been expecting, it definitely gives you some of an idea of what the 2JZ is capable of. And finally, the interior. We are very much going back to the 1990s with the Toyota Supra interior. The parts I like are the central mounted tachometer and the speedo that goes all the way to 300 k's an hour. The wraparound dash sensation is quite cool with all the little warning lights and odometer and a line across the top there. And the TRD seats in this one are relatively comfortable. But I have to be honest and say that this is still a 30-plus-year-old Toyota, and it really shows it here. None of the materials inside are anything remotely resembling the luxury GT car this is supposed to be, and frankly, most of the plastics and vinyls in here look like they were lifted out of a Corolla. I don't particularly like the big blocky patches of empty plastic all across the dash. The feature list includes a radio and air conditioning and not a whole lot else. The pedals, steering wheel and dash gauges are really not to my taste in this particular example, and the potato-looking shifter is hideous even by 1990 standards. So let's move on from this car's downsides and see what the 2JZ is like to drive. Driving the Toyota Supra twin turbo. I suppose the first question a lot of you will be asking, is it fast? Well, let's find out, shall we? Put it down into L. Wow, there it is. And let's feel this twin turbo straight six. It's so fast the dashboard's falling apart. And you can see how, like, back in the day, if you needed to overtake someone back in the 90s in your Toyota Supra, you would get past people pretty flippin' fast, man. Holy moly. Man, when that second turbo hits, it is quick. Holy moly. And like with the naturally aspirated one, down a back road, this thing is actually not a bad handling car in the slightest. On the coilovers, the ride quality is like okay, but definitely not extremely comfortable. And the power on the straights, whoa, extremely impressive. This car in my mind almost sort of has the issue that turbocharged cars have twice in a way, where you have the lag for the first turbo and then the lag for the second turbo. And you can definitely see why manufacturers moved away from this, because while the power is definitely there, 4,500 or so, modern turbos will make, this much power at 3,000. There's a lot to like about this car. The engine is fantastic. Whoa, yep, but it's 32 years old, and frankly, the world's moved on. This gearbox, horrible. This is an old car, and it really drives like it, and it's kind of only good for two things: telling people I've got a Supra and them going, yo, you drive a Supra, and roll races. The whole point of the Toyota Supra was to be a nice, comfy GT car priced more affordably than equivalent European offerings. It just so happened to feature in an extremely successful movie, and people discovered the engine is very strong and can make a hang of a lot of power. But that doesn't miraculously make it some amazing car. If anything, as it's gotten older, it's only gotten worse. It's no longer comfy, quiet, refined, or well equipped by today's standards, which was its design brief when new, and I haven't got enough fingers to count the number of cars I've driven that make or could make the same, if not more power, than that 2JZ makes. The Supra, and by extension its 2JZ engine, are no longer special anymore, and dozens of other cars do the same thing but to a far, far higher standard for a heap less money. Like for instance, my S5. It's infinitely nicer to drive and better looking. In the real world, it's faster because the engine just produces power immediately at all RPM rather than having to wait till 5,000 like in the Supra. It is a far superior transmission, and it costs a quarter as much. Why would I spend way more money to get a positively worse car in the Toyota Supra over this? I wouldn't. Alas, I will give you one final 2JZ blat. We're going to be barreling up behind this Yaris in front of us very quickly. Oh man, it's so fast. And I will very much look forward to seeing you again next time.